This is your daily dose of all things royal. Look, I'm really sorry that I'm talking about this again, but I think it's so important for people to see what's going on here and that the stories that we've been fed by the mainstream media, again, nothing but deflection and lies. If you're an American, this is going to make your blood boil. Now, I'm pretty sure there are many of you out there who feel the same way that I do now. Anytime we see the mainstream media report on anything about Harry and Meghan, we know not to trust it. And this trip to Angola to improve Harry's brand as the humanitarian and committed to his life of service is no different. Now, I'm very much aware that there are many of you out there that still feel and are adamant that Harry and Meghan have absolutely no connection to the institution. Yeah, it's perfectly fine if you want to buy into the mainstream media and what you're being fed to believe. But people like myself, I do think a lot, and I like to apply common sense to a lot of things that are not spoken and, should not be ignored. And this situation is no different. And when I say that I don't believe that Harry ever left the institution, I truly do believe that. And I'm here to show you in this video another example that you can add to the long list of examples of why. Now, it's my belief that Harry is here in the United States with special status. Now, of course, Meghan doesn't have that coverage because she's an American, but Harry's passport is diplomat status. I don't think it was ever revoked or taken away. And I just want to point out that Harry's passport status is separate from Harry's security situation. He can still have this special status as he's traveling about around the world and getting other governments to pay for his security. But when he's home domestically, that's where Harry wants to get his security back. Notice he's not complaining about getting protection everywhere that he goes. Like he went to Ukraine, he was in Nigeria, Colombia. He travels to New York here, and we're giving him taxpayer-funded security. Harry has a status. It's Meghan that doesn't have any kind of status. And I do believe a lot of this fight is for Meghan. Now I'm going to tell you this. This is my opinion from what I'm reading and reading in between the lines. This trip is smoke and mirrors. Yes, Harry's there to be the humanitarian for his PR, but he's also there on behalf of the UK government, and I'll tell you why. Now, I just want to point out that whenever you hear public and private partnerships, the phrase that the World Economic Forum, Charles's little club that he hangs out with, ever says that, know that that's a characteristic of fascism. Fascism involves a system where private businesses exist but are heavily directed by the state to align with national goals. And that is no different with what's going on with the Halo Trust. And let me show you what I mean by that. You see, the Halo Trust is not some NGO that is like 5 organizations removed directly interacting with the government. No, the Halo Trust is directly intertwined with His Majesty the King's government. You could almost look at it as an engine to further British foreign policy, taking on very similar characteristics to USAID. Now, I stumbled upon this document, which was submitted to Parliament, of which the subject line is, "This underlines the importance of the review enabling closer integration of human assistance, economic development plans, and stabilization programming between the UK government and the Halo Trust and their work." Now, in this document that was submitted by the Halo Trust to the Foreign Affairs Committee under the late Queen's government, they mention many times over of the tight alignment and partnership with the UK government over the past 32 years. And throughout this document, pushing a global Britain that is both influential and a force for good in the world. Now, doesn't that sound like a position that USAID would be taking, especially when Halo is recommending the primary purpose of the integrated review should be to equip a global Britain with capability and influence to respond to complex global challenges over the next 3 to 5 years? And here we have Harry meeting with the president. Now, many are saying, oh, he had hijacked this visit because it really wasn't his visit. No, this was his visit, and he was going there on behalf of the UK government, representing the UK government to help with foreign policy. And I'll tell you why in a second. Just stay with me. So here is Harry with the Halo Trust, acting on behalf of this organization as the front, but really representing the king. This organization is tightly aligned with the government. Again, Harry is there on behalf of the king. You don't believe me? Well, Harry is telling us right here on the Sussex.com website. In the little write-up for this PR stunt, it says at the bottom, a message of gratitude and hope. At receptions hosted by the British Embassy and Angolian ministers, the Duke acknowledged the critical need of support from international donors, including the UK, US, and private sector partners. And I'm sorry, but the United States needs to stay far away from Harry and this organization, and I'll show you why in a second. He emphasized the critical role played by local Halo staff, many of whom are clearing the very communities they call home. Oh. Now, I'm not going to go through and read all of this propaganda fluff that the press release by the Halo Trust had put out about Harry's visit, just to pull on people's heartstrings and exploit Diana and vulnerable African children. I'm going to get to the net of it. Again, way down at the bottom, the real reason for why Harry was there. And it's only this paragraph that really tells you what Harry was there for. It says, the Duke met with President Lorenzo in Luanda yesterday, Tuesday, 15th of July, to welcome the Angolian government's renewed commitment to landmine clearance, including a new 3-year contract with the Halo Trust. Later that day, the Duke joined leaders from the business and diplomatic communities at a reception hosted by the British Embassy, where he highlighted the value of long-term international partnerships in achieving humanitarian goals. Ah, so noble of you, Harry. Doing just what Papa Chuck needs you to do as a working royal. Doing exactly what your Uncle Andrew used to do. Is nobody connecting two and two together yet? When you see British Embassy putting on this whole show, and Harry as patron of an NGO that's tightly intertwined with his father's government, then add the British Embassy in conjunction with the Angolian government, come on, put two and two together, folks. Use your common sense. Now, the role of the British Embassy in this situation was not only to facilitate this gathering of diplomats and stakeholders, but also to give local introductions, security coordination with Angolian authorities, and bridge the relationships between all the various entities together. Because guess what? Harry was there to further foreign policy. Anyone have an idea as to what happened less than 2 months ago? The UK held the first UK-Angola Trade and Investment Mission in Angola, organized by the Department for Business and Trade with the British Embassy in Luanda, the same place that Harry was visiting, okay? Over 30 UK companies joined meetings with Angolian officials in sectors like infrastructure, agriculture, tourism, transport, and finance. The Halo Trust plays a critical role in this because in order to see this economic growth and boom in the respective sectors, they got to get rid of the rest of those landmines. Hence the reason why there's such a press now to get this done by the end of 2025. You see, the Halo Trust's work in demining has now suddenly become a core and central element in all of the discussions around economic recovery, agriculture, infrastructure, and tourism as a result of this bilateral trade agreement that is in place with the UK. With billions flowing and billions more to be flowing, they need to clear those mines in order for them to achieve that. And that's why now we're seeing sudden interest with Harry going over there, trying to be this humanitarian. Not because he gives a shit about these kids. I mean, the last time he was there was in 2019 for a photo op. He's back again, not because he wants to retrace his mother's footsteps. No, this is to help the UK to find money in order to fund removing the rest of these landmines, because the United States has been funding historically a lot of it. So I did this little exercise in Grok just to get an understanding as to how realistic is it going to be to clear all these mines by the end of 2025, as there is some kind of mandate that has been put down by the UN and some other charter. Now, I asked the question, how many mines have been cleared in Angola from 1997 to 2025? So according to the Halo Trust, they have conservatively estimated that 123,000 landmines have been cleared from 1994 to 2025, with the majority post-1997, with now estimated over 1,000 minefields left and still affected as of 2024. Now, that seems like a lot of landmines. Then I asked the question, how many total landmines were there to begin with in 1997? Now, of course, given the lack of precise records, the best estimate for 1997 is approximately 6 million landmines and UXO based on the 1999 landmine monitor and adjusted for the 80,000 cleared by that time. This number is rough as it includes both anti-personal and anti-tank mines plus UXO, and actual figures could range from 4 to 10 million due to inconsistent reporting and surveyed areas. So now put into perspective, if the Halo Trust, which is the dominant organization that has been doing this the past 30 years, has cleared approximately 123,000 to 140,000 of these landmines over the past 30 years, and there were estimated around 4 to 10 million of these. 140,000 of these over 30 years doesn't seem like quite a lot, right? So the next question I ask is, how many are left to clear? I mean, that's a logical question to ask. Now, given the fact that they haven't been able to keep accurate records here, they're estimating that what is left is likely a range of hundreds of thousands to a few million of these landmines left. And let's not forget that in all of these puff pieces, Harry, the champion of the Halo Trust, is looking to clear these mines by the end of 2025, which is a goal that is literally delusional. Now, they're going to propose to extend this to 2030. I don't know how Papa Chuck is going to feel about that, but it is what it is, right? 123,000 mines to 140,000 mines cleared in 30 years, and they still have left hundreds of thousands to a few million to go? Get out of here. So just so people can understand that over the course of 30 years or almost 30 years, it has estimated to cost a total, and I'm just saying across all various organizations that are trying to demine Angola, approximately 250 to 350 million, with the United States carrying a big nut of that, almost 145 million. I was a little off the other day with 145 million for this conventional weapons removal process that has been ongoing. As you can see here, when you look at the United States and the amount of money that we have contributed versus the amount of money that the United Kingdom has contributed, Harry has a lot of balls to be asking the United States to give more money. In addition, the Halo Trust is getting the bulk of all of this money. That 145 million, Halo got at least a little over half of that money. And then look at all the other countries that the Halo Trust is receiving money for. Now, I would like to know, if anybody can answer this, is why is the Halo Trust USA classified as a nonprofit 501c3 receiving tax breaks when this organization does absolutely nothing to help the American people? Another question that I have is, why did the Department of State feel it necessary to give so much money to this organization when this organization is literally an extension of the UK government in furthering UK foreign policy? I mean, what are they doing to further US interests? Anyone? Anyone? And finally, I want to know, with all this money that we have given, I mean, literally, we have been the bulk of demining Angola. How is it the Halo Trust has only made it to 123,000 mines? Past 4 years, there has been quite a bit of advancement in AI technology and drones and using robots that could have knocked a lot of this out of the park. But we are sitting at 123,000 mines cleared when we have a couple 100,000 mines to maybe a couple million left to go. Who is going to be paying for that? Putting the 2025 mandate aside, how long would the rest of these mines take in order to clear? So according to Grok, the estimated time required to clear the remaining 500,000 to 2 million landmines is going somewhere around 16 to 18 years. Now, I mentioned earlier that there was this deadline of 2030, which Angola has put this deadline, and we all know that that deadline is there for the Agenda 2030. And it is estimating that it's going to cost approximately $240 million. Now, Grok is giving its best estimate with adequate funding, of course, and current technology. Clearing the remaining minefields will likely take 5 to 10 years by 2030 to 2035, aligning with Angola's 2030 target, but allowing for potential delays. Now, that 2030 target is in line with the UN SDG goals. You know, the same Sustainable Development Agenda 2030 that King Charles and his WEF buddies have forced on to the rest of the world to adhere by. Well, here we are. And guess who he has carrying it out? His own son. And everybody just wants to ignore the many times that Harry and Meghan have crossed the line in places where they shouldn't have, and the king did absolutely nothing, or the queen did absolutely nothing. And I'm talking about from the very beginning, interfering with the 2020 election, interfering with American civil liberties. I mean, who could forget Harry getting up in front of the UN and having the audacity to lecture us about democracy being under attack and chastising the decision of the courts rolling back Roe v. Wade? I mean, who could forget Harry going to Vancouver and speaking to the indigenous people about righting the wrongs? Like, that was not his place unless he was instructed to do so by King Charles. Oh, and let's not forget that little stunt that Harry pulled, showing up in Ukraine out of nowhere, undetected, just as Donald Trump had been in the midst of talking about minerals and trade. Right? I don't find that a coincidence, especially since the UK had been after those minerals. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that Harry and Meghan trotted off to Nigeria just after this agreement was signed between Nigeria and the UK for this enhanced trade and investment partnership, similar to what's going on with Angola. There literally has been so many things that these two have done, and the royal family has done absolutely nothing. But at the same time, there are still so many connections that Harry and Meghan still have with the institution. You mean to tell me that Harry and Meghan's parent network with Archewell Fugazi Public Charity is using the same exact charity that Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, is patron of? Come on. Yeah, I hate to say it, but these people really do see us peasants as stupid. I mean, who could blame them? Look how much they got away with. Look how much they stole from the middle class. And the really messed up thing here is that they throw a couple bones here and there, like in Harry and Meghan's case, when they throw a 10 grand grant or 50 grand grant. That's a lot of money to some people. And then they pocket the rest, the millions. I mean, it truly is a gross setup, but this is how it works. And this is how they get away with being the scumbags of the earth. 30 years have passed, and hundreds of millions has been injected into Angola for demining the region. And you mean to tell me we only have 140,000 at best cleared out of several hundred thousands to a couple million? I think we know what has been going on this whole entire time. Anyway, you know, if they really wanted to knock this out, they very well could have. With the advancements of technology, it would have been done by now. At least in the last 5 years, they could have knocked it out or at least gained a little more ground. But no, they decided to take the vulnerable people and put them out there and siphon the money. I don't think that they realized that once Donald Trump got in, that funding would have been cut off because they were riding the gravy train for a good while. But now they have to find alternate sources of funding and are thinking, you know what, we need to get this on its way because we're not making money anymore. And here we are. Yeah, every time Harry and Meghan pull these PR stunts that we've seen, like recently with the communications secretary having this private summit, and then Harry showing up, and the embassy is preparing this meet and greet with the president of Angola. Of course, you're going to think that Harry's still very much connected to the institution. And the fact that the institution never comes out and says anything, well, silence now is complicity. It's no longer maintaining a dignified silence. Harry is very much a part of the royal family and the institution. He's still counselor of state. I mean, many of you don't think about that, but that holds a lot of weight. So regardless of what the media tells us, I mean, you choose not to believe the media when they talk about Meghan and being pregnant and having those two children. Why is this any different? Like, it's so exhausting. When you look at the amount of lies that the public has been told, nothing that the media and these journalists or propagandists are pushing out anymore, I am taking as the gospel. Seriously, how many times have Harry and Meghan lied? I mean, literally just about everything. Same thing with the media here in the United States, as well as the media in the UK. And let's not forget, the palace, too, is also guilty of lying. They have lied to protect Meghan on so many occasions. So you can't trust any of them. All you can do is use your common sense and your gut instinct to decide what is real and what's not. And I will, go to the grave and say that we have been lied to about Harry's involvement with the institution this whole entire time. He has been involved. And of course, Charles knows exactly what his son has been up to these last several years. He may not talk to Harry directly, or at least that's what we've been told. But you can bet that there are people reporting back to him, giving him updates on the things that he's involved with and who he is involved with. Of course. And the reason why we don't hear anything as far as pushback or speaking out to stop him is because Charles approves of it. Everything that Harry has been doing from this side of philanthropy is all in support of this Agenda 2030. So why would Charles step in and turn that down? He has King Charles's blessing, and he's doing what he has to do on behalf of the UK government. And that's my opinion, and I'm going to stay with that. But what do you guys think? Definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I will talk to you later. Bye!
Such a fraud.